President Biden making good on a campaign promise to reverse major Trump administration policies on day one. The new commander-in-chief signed several executive orders rolling back former President Trump's immigration policies, including the construction of a wall on the southern border with Mexico. In a dramatic move, the Biden administration also imposed a 100-day pause on deportations of illegal immigrants. So what's next? Joining me now to discuss is Mark Kirkorian, Executive Director of the Center for Immigration Studies. Mark, good to see you.
Glad to be here.
Let's start with the letter from DHS letter from Acting Secretary David Pekoske, directing immigration to pause for immigration removals to pause for 100 days. What does this mean?
Well, the rationale is they want to come up with new rules for deportation so that regular illegal aliens don't get deported. That's what it really boils down to. In other words, the goal is what they want to get to is a situation where being an illegal immigrant isn't enough to get you deported. Only if you violate a real law, like a criminal law, would you end up being deported. And even then, you have to be a pretty serious criminal violation. Biden said that even drunk drivers who are illegal immigrants should not be deported. So, I mean, that's the whole point of it is to craft a policy where the only people who get deported are not all the regular illegal immigrants, even new illegal aliens, but rather ones who, actually have killed somebody, raped somebody, what have you. Everybody else would be home free.
Now, what was just so everyone watching this can have a proper context for what is feeling increasingly like Obama administration 2.0 in terms of a lot of policies, including on immigration. There were a lot of deportations under Obama. How did they really handle the deportation issue? What do we need to know about that as we're looking at what's happening now?
What had happened is that annual deportations, technically they call them removals, were increasing steadily under George W. Bush and before that under Clinton. It was a steady increase because they put more money into it, more resources. What happened is Obama basically inherited that high level of deportations and kind of kept it up for a while. Although even there they were playing some games with statistics. There's no point to going into the details here, but they were shifting people around and making it look like the numbers were still higher than they were. And then toward the end of the Obama administration, the numbers of deportations pretty much cratered, especially those who were deported from inside the country. So the interesting thing, though, is that Trump's number of deportations were actually not higher than Obama's, except for a couple of years under Obama when they were lower. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's complicated, but it all boils down to one thing: sanctuary cities. Because most criminal aliens are not found by ICE because they're walking around the streets and arresting criminals. They're handed over to them by local police. When local law enforcement doesn't cooperate with immigration, criminal aliens end up being let go and total deportations end up declining. And what Biden wants to do is continue that and kind of make it official so that no one who hasn't not committed, but been convicted of a serious violent crime would have to worry about being deported.
Mark, to tell me what you think is going to happen now as a result of this new administration. Sanctuary cities are obviously still a thing. There are hundreds of them, depending on how you define how you define these different jurisdictions across the country. And are they going to get stronger in some way, or is there something that Biden's going to do to further assist in their sanctuary status, or is the status quo sufficient for them?
Yeah, the status quo is enough. I mean, in a sense, the sanctuary policies that mean they're not cooperating with ICE, are fine if ICE isn't even asking for cooperation. So yeah, I mean, essentially what Biden wants to do is just create a sanctuary country, at which point the sanctuary cities and counties and what have you would just be part of that broader phenomenon.
Mitt Romney was speaking to Biden's DHS nominee nominee for DHS Chief Alejandro Mayorkas. This is how that exchange went.
Is your intention to allow them just to come into the country? Will they be stopped? What's the plan?
Senator, we are a nation of immigrants, and we are also a nation of laws.
Does that mean that they will be interdicted and rejected from coming into the country, evaluated one by one? What's the plan?
If people qualify under the law to remain in the United States, then we will apply the law accordingly.
Seemed to anybody who I think follows immigration issues closely that DHS nominee Mayorkas here was being a bit evasive. What do you expect the Biden administration will do with these caravans that are arriving at the border? What's the current state of play?
Right now, they've kept some of Trump's policies in place. For instance, the public health policy where anybody who comes to the border is immediately turned back, because of COVID. But that's not going to last. They're just doing that to try to, boil the frog slowly and make the changes in such a way that people don't notice. Within, a few months, within 6 months, basically anybody who can step foot across the border, or anybody even who walks up to an immigration officer at a port of entry and says the magic words about asylum that the smugglers coach people on what to say, is going to be let in. And even if they end up being turned down at the end of the day, or at the end of 2 years, they're already here. And this is going to be a real problem. I mean, it's a problem for the country, but it's going to be a problem for the Obama administration. For the Biden administration, because they are in effect inviting people. That's why these caravans are happening. People are figuring Biden is here. He's going to let us in. That's what he's been saying for months. So we're going to take him up on that offer. And, what's he going to do? He's either going to end up, if they get to the border, this most recent one's broken up, as the pictures show. But they're either going to get to our border, and then what are we going to do? Either going to let him in, or we're going to use tear gas to control it. Well, which of those is Biden going to want to do? I don't know. Neither one of them is a good choice from his perspective.
Is there anything in your mind that is likely to get in the way of now President Biden's promise to create a permanent legal amnesty for the over 11 million illegal aliens in the United States right now?
Well, there's two things that are going to get in his way. The public watching these kind of pictures, because they're going to keep going on for a long time. And the other is Congress. Republicans in Congress have to go. Some of them have to go along with this because the Democrats have such a tiny majority. The world has changed since Trump.
Assuming they don't get rid of the filibuster, you're right, but that's also something they're talking about. They do have the 50 plus Kamala Harris to be the tiebreaker. So you think that they would pass it on a strict party line vote?
Yeah, I think if they could get away with it, I think they definitely would. They think this is important enough, both in a sense of importing future voters, but it's more than that. I think much of the left, the mainstream left now, views border control of any kind as illegitimate in principle. In other words, that people have a right to move to the United States, and the American people have no right to say no. That is really what's driving much of this debate on the left. It's not just money and votes. It's deeper than that.
Mark Kirkorian, Center for Immigration Studies. Good to see you, Mark. Always appreciate it. Hey, Team Buck, just want to say thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more great content from The First, please click that subscribe button.